The real apocalypse boss isn't zombies, it's bacteria. Every cut becomes a death sentence. Every fever becomes a coin flip. Because when the grid goes down, hospitals become mass graves and pharmacies become crime scenes. You're not worried about the undead. You're worried about the invisible. Sepsis doesn't negotiate. Infection doesn't wait for backup. And that scrape on your leg from climbing through a broken window, that's not healing, that's spreading. Welcome to a world where a paper cut can kill you in 3 days. But here's what they won't tell you in those cute prepper forums. Nature already solved this problem. In 1928, a British scientist named Alexander Fleming came back from vacation to find his lab contaminated with mold. Most people would have thrown it out. He looked closer. That mold was murdering bacteria, not with violence, with chemistry. The penicillium fungus was pumping out compounds that destroyed bacterial cell walls. It was chemical warfare at the microscopic level, and it worked so well we built an entire pharmaceutical industry around it. Now, I'm not saying that you can recreate a CVS in your basement, but I am saying this. If civilization collapses and you've got an infection spreading up your arm, you have exactly one move left, and it involves mold, trash, and a willingness to become your own worst pharmacist. Let's talk about how to make antibiotics when there's nobody left to make them for you. First, the brutal truth nobody wants to hear. This is dangerous. The mold that saves you and the mold that kills you look almost identical to someone who doesn't know what they're doing, which is you. You're that person. But desperation has a way of making experts out of idiots. So here's the crash course. Step 1. Find something organic that wants to rot. Stale bread, overripe citrus, potato peels, anything starchy or sugary that bacteria and mold would fight over. You're not looking for fresh, you're looking for forgotten. Raid that abandoned pantry. Check dumpsters behind grocery stores that stopped existing. Find food that's past its expiration date by 6 months. This is the substrate, the battlefield where microorganisms go to war. Now contaminated on purpose. Smear it with a tiny bit of dirt or spit. Yes, your own spit. Hygiene is a luxury from a world that had running water. You don't live there anymore. Then store it somewhere warm and damp, under a leaky roof, inside a sealed container near body heat. Stick it in your backpack if you're moving. The goal is to create a little biological incubator where mold can grow faster than you can second-guess this plan. Now you wait. 3 to 5 days. This is where most people fail. Not because they're impatient, because they're hoping. You're hoping that when you open that container, you see the right mold. Bluish-green, fuzzy, penicillium. The kind that makes penicillin. The kind that might save you. But here's the nightmare scenario. You open it and see black mold, or pink, or something that smells like a crime scene. That's not medicine. That's aspergillus or stachybotrys, or any number of fungal nightmares that will absolutely wreck your lungs, liver, and remaining life expectancy. Some molds produce mycotoxins, liver failure in 48 hours. No cure, no reversal. So how do you tell the difference when you're not a mycologist and Google stopped existing? You can't. Not with certainty. But you can stack probabilities. Penicillium loves citrus. It's that bluish-green fuzz on old oranges. If you're growing mold on citrus peels and it's blue-green, your odds just improved. Not guaranteed, improved. If it's black, grey, or smells like rotting meat, abort. Burn it. Don't inhale the spores. That mold is enemy contact. Let's say you got lucky. You've got blue-green mold on your orange peel or bread. Congratulations. You're now at step 2, extraction. This is where it gets messy. Take your moldy substrate and mash it into a container with boiled water. Not hot water. Boiled water that's cooled down. You need it sterile, or as close as you're getting in a world without autoclaves. Ratio doesn't matter as much as you think. You're not compounding pharmaceuticals. You're making mold tea. Add enough water to cover the moldy material. Mash it, stir it, let it sit. The penicillium mold secretes penicillin into the liquid. That's the theory. In practice, you're also extracting dirt, bacteria, fungal spores, and whatever else was on that substrate. Now strain it. Use cloth, a t-shirt, a coffee filter you found in an abandoned apartment. Anything that removes the solid chunks and leaves you with liquid. What you've got now is crude penicillin broth. Emphasis on crude. Let it sit in a dark, cool place for another 24 to 48 hours. If you see bubbles, that's fermentation. Microorganisms are still active. That's either good or catastrophic, and you won't know until you use it. Quick checkpoint. So far, you've cultured mold, extracted it into liquid, and strained out the chunks. You're holding a jar of something that might fight infection or might give you a whole new set of problems. The next decision is the one that separates desperation from suicide. Do you use it? Here's the calculation. If your infection is spreading, if you've got red streaks moving toward your heart, if you're feverish and running out of time, then your options are: Option A, do nothing and die from sepsis in 48 to 72 hours. Option B, use the mold brew and maybe die from toxic shock or allergic reaction in 12 hours. Option C, use the mold brew and maybe survive because you just got lucky with penicillium and your immune system doesn't implode. Mathematics says option B has better odds than option A, barely. So here's how you dose it, without killing yourself faster. Start external. If you've got an open wound, clean it as best you can with boiled water. Then apply a small amount of the strained mold liquid directly to the wound, not a lot, a few drops. You're testing for allergic reaction first. Wait 1 hour. If your skin doesn't swell, blister, or turn colors that don't exist in nature, you're probably not lethally allergic. Probably. Now apply more. Soak a clean cloth in the mold brew and wrap the wound. Change it every 6 to 8 hours. You're trying to keep the penicillin in contact with the infection site. If the infection is internal, pneumonia, kidney infection, something you can't reach from outside, then you're looking at oral dosing. And this is where things get darker. Drink a small amount, 1 or 2 tablespoons maximum, not a full glass. You're not hydrating. You're introducing a biologically active substance into your digestive system and hoping it doesn't trigger anaphylaxis. If you vomit immediately, your body is rejecting it. Stop. You just learned you're allergic or the brew is toxic. Either way, this path is closed. If you don't vomit, wait 3 hours. Monitor your symptoms. Rising fever? Stop. Difficulty breathing? Stop. Rash spreading across your torso? Definitely stop. But if the fever starts dropping, if the pain lessens, if you wake up the next morning still alive and slightly less dying, then you just successfully biohacked your way out of sepsis using trash and desperation. Here's the science behind why this even has a chance of working. Penicillium mold produces penicillin as a defense mechanism. It's chemical warfare. The mold wants to kill competing bacteria so it can dominate the food source. Penicillin works by inhibiting bacterial cell wall synthesis. Bacteria can't build their protective shell, so they rupture and die. Human cells don't have cell walls. We have cell membranes, different structure, which is why penicillin kills bacteria without killing us. Usually. The problem is dosing and purity. Pharmaceutical penicillin is isolated, purified, and measured in precise units. Your mold tea is none of those things. You could be getting 10 units or 10,000 units per dose. You don't know. You can't know. Too little, and the bacteria develop resistance. Too much and you're poisoning yourself. But in a post-collapse scenario, too much is still better than dead from infection. Now let's talk about what this feels like when it works. Hour 12. The fever breaks. You're still weak, but the chills stop. Your wound stops throbbing like it has its own heartbeat. Hour 24. The red streaks on your skin start fading. The swelling goes down. You can think clearly for the first time in days. Hour 48. You're not healed, but you're not dying. The infection is losing. Your immune system is winning. And you did that with moldy bread and boiled water. But here's what nobody tells you about surviving an infection in the apocalypse. It only matters if you can survive the next threat. Because infections don't happen in a vacuum. You got that cut because you were scavenging. You were scavenging because you ran out of supplies. You ran out of supplies because you're in a world where the temperature is dropping and you don't have heat. Beating the infection keeps you alive this week. But if you can't solve the cold, you just bought yourself time to freeze to death instead. And cold is a different kind of enemy. It doesn't care that you survived sepsis. It doesn't care that you're a scrappy DIY pharmacist. Cold will kill you in your sleep while you're congratulating yourself for beating bacteria. That's what we're covering next. Because antibiotics keep you alive until the temperature decides you're done. And when the grid goes down in winter, the cold moves faster than infection ever could. The methods that keep you warm without fire, without electricity, without anything except physics and refusal to die. That's the next battlefield. Because you didn't survive bacteria just to let cold finish what infection couldn't.